TJR is the largest trading creator in the world right now, making over $1 million a month. Now, I've already covered his story on my main channel, but what you're about to watch is an advanced breakdown from somebody who's actually scaled a coaching business to $160,000 a month using only YouTube Organic, and now runs a media company, 7-figure creator, helping coaches do the same. In this video, we're going to cover his top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel, along with his eccentric branding that allow him to get results using a genius strategy that nobody else has been able to replicate. Our first section is going to be branding. Now, when it comes to how TJR is viewed as a brand, let's first start off with his appearance. He has a pretty unique one, being 6'4", and then before he sported a pretty crazy hairstyle, and in addition to that, he also wears some pretty crazy outfits. So these elements make up a unique appearance that at face value make you wonder, who is this guy? And if we were to break down each of these sections, mainly his hair. So his hair is unique, and in addition to that, we also have the outfits here wearing, which cost a lot of money. So there's a contrast there of why does this guy who looks like a surfer have all of this money? And while he might not have that hairstyle anymore, all of his new hairstyles, even down to the mohawk, have that same effect. So it could be surfer, it could be punk, it could be some bald person, I don't know. There's a lot of different stuff that he ends up doing here, but the whole goal is to just merely capture a unique attention that makes somebody pause. Now, outside of that, we move on to his personality, and this is where it gets very, very interesting, because what TJR has is 3 different elements. We first and foremost have the part of him that is the trader, so that is a very introverted person, as he's spoken about many, many times. Then we have the version of him that is comedic. This is mainly the side that we're going to see at the top of funnel, which I'll cover soon. And then finally, we have the end of the controversial. So this is the side that has got him in a lot of trouble, but also got him lots of attention. So to give you examples of each of these, in introverted, of course, we're gonna have trading. Within the comedic section, we're going to have his funny TikToks that he produces. And then in the controversial section, we have things like his most relevant, which is saying the N-word, or another one is gifting a Hellcat to a black person, or another one, for example, is him wanting to gift a group of trucks to a bunch of Mexican construction workers. The point is that he has 3 elements of his personality that will mainly shine through on his content, and each of these have their own specific purposes. So when we align these, this introverted trading style is going to be his, of course, middle of funnel, but then mainly his bottom of funnel here. And then these 2 are going to make up what you see at the actual top of funnel content from him. So majority of people that find out about TJR are going to be discovering him through this top of funnel crazy approach that also aligns here with just his branding and physical appearance that makes you think, who is this crazy person with all this money saying these outlandish things? And then it's going to move you into the later section, which is going to be the introverted trading. And he does this in his content, but it's very important to actually understand that this overall train is all the same guy. There is no inauthenticity here, but what he's done is he's segmented each of the things that he likes to talk about into core places where they become the most effective possible. So all of this stuff make up the authentic version of TJR and who he is, but there's also another element, which is the manufactured element of his brand and how he appears. And this is also a part that gets him a lot of nuance and separates him from a lot of the other creators that do a great job displaying themselves, but don't quite have the edge to go viral. And in this manufactured part is where a lot of his expensive purchases come in. So, for example, the most relevant within this section is his purchase of vehicles, his collaborations, and then in addition to that, also just his crazy vlogs and parties. All of these are parts of TJR which, while they are true, are definitely played up, and I'll give you examples of each. So, for his vehicles, which is a big part of what's garnered him his attention, whether it's purchasing a black Ferrari Pista or the red Koenigsegg, both of these vehicles are cars that he doesn't really want to drive. He's spoken about that he only bought them for his brand.
A warrior took my Koenigsegg, so now what even am I? I'm just like you guys, but I'm not even rich.
And the reason why this is important is because it has a lot of relatability drawn in of this is the dream car of a lot of his ICP. And in addition to that, it also goes ahead and allows him to attract new audiences based off stuff that's worked. So for example, we've seen Brez jump onto the scene of pretty much the entire info and social media game and dominate purely because he spoke about his love for cars, and that's what all of his content on his main channel is truly centered around. Then somebody like TJR would see this and go, all right, well, what if I manufacture my desire for cars and purchase the cars that everybody wants in order to garner this attention? And the smart way that he does the vehicles is he always buys cars that are going to hold their value. So it's an investment for him. And what this means is that he openly talks about this, but not putting miles on the car. And in addition to that, purchasing cars that will actually go up in the price that he can resell them for. So then as a result, while he just puts the payments on, goes viral for driving it a few times when he goes to Miami where he doesn't even live, he can get millions of views off of that and hype up the whole thing, turn it into what's called a lightning strike event. Same thing here with the collaborations. Now, I don't doubt that TJR does actually enjoy the company of a lot of the people that he makes videos with. There are a few that you can tell he went out of his way to do in order to garner a new audience. So, first example here is Togi. And while this may seem like these two are a match made in heaven and they're great friends, there is the truth element that TJR's got a gambling deal. And as a result of connecting with somebody like Togi, this is going to allow him to garner an audience that massively supports his gambling deal. Or, for example, connecting with somebody like Lacy, who also ties into that younger Brainrot generation of young men who he can then funnel into other parts of his ecosystem, mainly around making money. And then the last one, of course, is going to be parties. Now, actually with this one, I don't doubt that he loves to party. However, the one thing that I do want to make sure is clear is that within these partying clips, he always makes sure to have gifts that are given to people, and these gifts are all publicly documented and shown, him giving hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gifts to people, which creates an idea that he's a good guy, and it builds reciprocity with his audience where people see him as genuine and giving. And then in addition to that, the also dollar amount that they're spending at all of these clubs and parties is very clear, and it's used as somewhat of a lifestyle marketing fantasy for his ICP. People are going to look at it and go, oh, well, I can spend $100,000 or $500,000 in a weekend or trip to this crazy place. That would be my dream. That's what I want to do. So then as a result, it builds the authority figure while also building that relatability element. So overall, the core takeaways from breaking down his brand is that he's done a really good job of taking each of the elements of himself and turning that into a form of content that he can actually produce. And then in addition to that, he's found things that already have lots of attention going to them to combine the parts of him that are authentic. So he might not be the kind of person to go to Car Week because he doesn't really care about cars, and he spoke about that. However, if he goes to Car Week, he's going to do something super controversial, like saying the N-word there, and get hundreds of millions of views literally off just a 20-minute clip by itself. So I want you to imagine that this massive circle here is just all of social media. And within social media, there are different sections. So let's say we've got the health section, we've got the section over here of dating, and we've got the section over here of just streamers and entertainment. And then we've got the section over here of info, gurus, making money online and everything. And within this overall realm of social media and all the other categories I can't put on here, we've then got each of the different business models that people have carved out. And within these, even somebody will have their little segment of the market carved out that they cash in. Now, this is something that's completely normal. It's how markets work. But TJR is somebody who's pretty unique because he's found himself as somebody who's able to break into multiple of these. So I'll give you a great example. TJR has broken into the health section by sharing his journey of losing weight. He's broken into the streaming section by collabing with people like Lacy. He's broken into the gambling side that's not even on here by doing stuff with Togi. And he's also a part of the info world, doing collaborations with Iman and other well-known people, but then also just selling mentorship. And because of this, he's been one of the first people that, instead of competing for the same attention that everybody else is competing for in this massive red sea of people doing the same thing and just all repeating and stealing from each other, he has just gone to a completely new market and created the attention. So somebody that's watching a streamer might want to make money online, and because they've never been exposed to a guru or somebody talking about this, they can find TJR, and he's a great entry into the top of funnel. And this is by no means new, it's just TJR has done it in the most relevant mainstream brain-rotty way. Iman did this because he wanted to sell the business model of SMA, so he went to niches like health and personal branding and self-improvement, and he made the crossover here where he's mainly just going into one world and bringing them into the other. His was a clean transaction that made him tens of millions of dollars. And TJR is a little bit different because while it is not such a direct correlation that cleanly converts into cash, he's just exploded over as much of the internet as possible and gone so viral that it creates an abundance of attention, which then the whole job of his middle of funnel and bottom of funnel is to filter that down to actually being able to convert him money. And in order to do all of that, we start at his top of funnel here. And to share the progression journey of how we even got here, his first and foremost platform that he started on was going ahead and doing short form, particularly just on TikTok. And on his short form content, he first off started in one of his formats, which was producing ultra serious trading educational content. So he'd speak about the markets, both for crypto and then also just for day trading here, as he was developing on his journey. And he had a tagline that was, hey, I'm just a kid giving adult advice. And he'd say, I'm just a kid giving adult advice, jump into the video. And what that did is it created a tagline that started to show who he was, and people really liked that. And as people liked that, they gave him initial kind of hearts here. He got his attention that allowed him to understand, okay, this social media thing's working. He had an initial little course going that he was selling for only 50 bucks, and people were purchasing it, they were liking it. And then he realized, oh, well, this short form thing is good, and I really like making this trading content here, but there's more that I can do. And this is when he introduced his next style of producing short form content, which is going ahead and doing the comedy stuff. So the comedy stuff was him taking a look at the biggest trends in the world and just doing his take on them. So he would do that and he'd repeat it and he'd combine it with this trading content, and he started to notice a flywheel, because at first he thought that people liked him and his brand just merely because of the trading stuff and all the character that I spoke about before, but they realized that he also liked him for his personality, his jokes, and who he was as a person. So he decided to slow down on all the trading and educational content, only rarely producing that, and instead moving it over to being his middle of funnel on YouTube, where his full strategy came to life, and focusing on the comedy style, but then also the pure brainrot style. And what these consist of is comedy will be him, and these videos take approximately a minute to make. That is what he said around it. And it will include, if he's putting high effort into it, a pretty much simple text line of a headline, usually being short and around some form of joke. Then he's going to have a lot of tone switches involved in the way that he actually speaks. He's going to have a lot of camera movement in the way that he speaks. And in addition to that, he's going to find some form of controversial or relatable hook. The only real strategy beyond just simply these things is that he talks really fast, but the idea of why this whole thing works and generates him tens of millions of eyeballs per month is not because of any of these individual factors that make it up and most people try to replicate. What actually makes this work for him is his pure ability to produce mass. So overall on TJR short form, if we're to look at the numbers, he has produced and aimed to do 20 a day for the last 3 years. So if we do the simple math on that, we're gonna wound up to 20,000 TikToks in 3.5 years, so we'll just assume 1,000 days. So roughly 20,000 TikToks that he has posted. So given that, not every single one needs to get a crazy amount of views, a majority of his miss, but he just puts in so many reps that he's built an audience over time and therefore has the base level platform to go viral. And this works on algorithms that are made for short form content because they're what's called active distribution algorithms. What that means is that unlike a platform like YouTube, where when you post, it will wait to find an audience and use metrics a little bit more, on TikTok, when you go ahead and post, what it will do is it will show it to people who are actively swiping on the platform, and if they like it, then it's going to push it to thousands of people within hours. You can go viral within hours and see millions of people. And the reason why that is so important is because the half-life of a video is so short. It will not last long. It's not evergreen in any way, shape, or form. It is the opposite of leverage and scalability, but that is what makes it something that nobody else is willing to do, and also so effective when he's able to just put in a lot of reps and get so good at the invisible elements that make up the success for it. Now, this is a serious video, but there's nothing serious about this strategy. It is him doing dances that are, quite frankly, pretty weird and just doing stuff that is odd. He's pretty much just limit testing what he can even get away with on social media without getting banned or people thinking he is a complete psychopath, which quite frankly and justifiably, some people think he does. But the whole goal of this short form and what it actually amounts to is that regardless of whether it's the occasional education piece, whether it is the comedy piece, or whether it is the pure brainrot piece, it all contributes to what is called a parasocial connection. So throughout TJR's day, he is making these videos and posting them, oftentimes drafting a lot of them at a single time. So he's maybe recording 3 or 4 times throughout the day. What is happening is people are going to be following him throughout his day. And what that does is it makes you relate to him. It makes you trust him. It makes you feel like you know who he is, what he does, and what he values, which creates a very strong connection that is not going to make somebody buy from it. Off of his short form content alone, nobody wants to pay him. But what it does do is it gets enough trust built up over here. So we'll do another little heart. It builds up enough trust to move somebody to his middle of funnel. And that is the only goal here. He is being so out of pocket, only doing these 3 short form strategies in addition to all the other stuff I'm about to cover. But the whole goal of it is to just buy enough trust and shock value for someone to be interested, for someone to be curious. They're not asking for the world, just to be curious and move on to the next phase. So this is where he is actually putting in manual inputs on a day-to-day basis in order to actually grow, but there are other sections. He has his clipping groups, which while he is no longer scaling these as seriously, what he's gone ahead and done is understand what actually makes clipping work, which is not onboarding as many people and creating as big of a payout as possible. Instead, what he's done is he has his group here, and he's going to use this group in order to pick out the top clippers, which he is then going to hire as in-house team members to run the actual given accounts that he has. And there are several dozen of TJR accounts across any single short form platform that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers getting millions and millions of views every single month, just off of them making edits and him hiring the in-house people to actually run this operation for him. Now, I dedicate my life to this personal branding space, and I'll just be honest, 99% of clipping operations completely fail and fall on their face. But what makes up the 1% actually ties in to his next top of funnel strategy, which is his ability to actually do collaborations and branch into the other niches as we spoke about. People are willing to clip for him because of the pure virality behind the clips that he's doing. Somebody like Lacy, who also has a crazy clipping operation, given that's the business of streamers, when he goes ahead and collaborates with somebody like that, he's incentivizing people that might not even be on his in-house team here to create clips of him, just purely based off the monetization they can make from social media platforms, not even the payouts that he's giving in his top clipping WAP group. And because of that, and because his content is so viral by nature, even him producing stuff himself, he is walking the talk that he wants his clippers to do, which most people just quite frankly don't have the skill for. And because of that, he is going to fall under this 1% that actually make this work, just purely because he has designed his brand in a way that, again, he's willing to do it himself. And him doing things himself and proving out things while not requiring others to do so and putting that first foot forward is a theme that you're going to see makes everything in his brand work. He steps over taboos and he just does things that, quite frankly, others aren't willing to do. And that moves into the next section, which is going to be his middle of funnel. So I've spoke about this in nearly every creator breakdown I've done, but it all starts at his Instagram page. This is a control tower for a personal brand because of stories. Stories have the unique ability to point people in different directions and go towards different things. So here's everywhere that his middle funnel points to. First and foremost, we are going to have his kick stream. So I'll explain why this exists and what it does later. Second off, we're going to have his X account here, which again, I will explain in just a second. And then from this point here, we have his YouTube. And beyond that, he also CTAs into his program occasionally, which I will cover because that falls under the bottom of funnel. So, given all of this, we're gonna first start off with his kick streams. Now, the primary purpose of why he does his kick streams is because he has a gambling deal. And the way these gambling deals work is they make loads of money, so they fork out millions of dollars to creators with a certain quota of the amount of hours they just have to play on stream. And what they'll do is they will give a fill balance to the creator, which is money from the casino for the creator to play with that's not their own. And then as a result, entice people to play. And while I don't quite agree with the ethics myself, this makes millions of dollars and is the incentivization behind why he streams. And in addition to that, he also just continues to build and fuel on this parasocial connection. He acts like a normal person on stream. He watches just YouTube videos. He even watched the actual story video that I did. But in occasion where there's any kind of money-making opportunity that really relies on him being live, he will do it. And an example of that was when the meme coin era was going on, he jumped on his kick stream and he was pumping and selling coins. And while he himself might have only publicly made a few $1,000s, I probably bet he had a calculated operation behind it and made pretty good money. And this is the part of the personal branding game that are unique to him because he goes into those different markets and he's actively an influencer in addition to also being an entrepreneur and info person. So while this is a pretty cool kind of monetary place to make money, it's second last when it comes to actual importance, and also it is not very ethical and not very repeatable for somebody else. Now, then we have his X. So his X is a very interesting platform because honestly, after everything that I've seen about it, it is purely a passion outlet. So when I spoke about TJR in his branding section, I said that every single part of his personality falls under a certain section, and the X part of him is a pretty serious audience. He doesn't talk about the same Brainrot stuff and troll around like he would, because those are other parts of his personalities, not for other platforms. On X, he talks about business. He talks about his investments. One of them was an investment into silver that he made that he spoke about on pretty much no other platform. And he also speaks about the crypto markets and just his overall belief of the economy. And he thinks we're going into a pretty much trade everything economy with a big company that he's getting involved with being Polymarket, even promoting them in the recent Jake Paul fight. So he just talks about his passion and overall just his thoughts as an entrepreneur and appeals to a very advanced audience as a result of this. I personally developed a new sense of seriousness for him as an entrepreneur just by going through and reading this stuff because you don't see it anywhere else in his ecosystem. And it's something that I recommend every entrepreneur has, whether it is your email list, whether it is within your school community, whether it is on X, it's a great platform for it. You have to have somewhere where you just spit game, you just share your lessons, you just talk about what you find valuable around business and have that documented for the people in your audience who are advanced or who just want to see the nuance of what you actually do. And then we're going to have the YouTube, which I am biased to say this, but I think is the most important part of his brand, and without it, everything else falls to pretty much complete crap. Because here's pretty much the way it works. At this point, when someone goes from TJR's top of funnel to his Instagram or to whatever platform they next decide to go on to, if they were to just look at his kick streams, they would think he's some kind of unethical gambler or just crazy influencer fleecing his audience. If they were to go to his X, they'd think he's some kind of mysterious business person, and the gap would be too big for someone to even care. It just wouldn't make sense from going crazy top of funnel brain Brainrot dances to now talking about investment strategies and the future of the economy. So this is why YouTube is so important, because it blends as the perfect middle of funnel for him. It is truly the middle of funnel completely by itself, and these two are pretty much just additions to what it actually does. And the reason why this works is because he has several different types of content. So first off, when he started his YouTube, he began just doing the iconic trade recaps. Then, as he continued to post on YouTube and really got more involved in just showing his personality online, he added doing vlogs to that, where he showed his life. He did about a 17-day daily vlog or 14-day daily vlog series before he quit. But in addition to that, there's a whole bunch of just vlogs of him showing his life and kind of his come up from when he first moved to Puerto Rico, meeting Alex Eubank, and kind of just getting involved in the business world, which act as a really good archive for him. We have his boot camps, which are highly educational series that make him millions of dollars in the kind of reciprocity and education that he builds. And finally, we have the lightning strike events. So this is stuff like buying his cars, stuff like going on crazy party benders, and stuff like doing a gambling stream with Lacy. So super big collaborations. I believe that video has crossed over 1 million views on an hour-long vlog, which is absolutely insane. So how each of these happen? So the lightning strike event is pretty simple. It is a single piece of content around a big event. The Jake Paul fight was another example of one that he did, and the whole goal behind it is to just take all the hype that he's building from his top of funnel, talking about the event, talking about the rollout, sharing some crazy stuff, and then he's going to put it on his Instagram story, going to take all that attention, he's going to send it directly into his YouTube video as one massive thing that will compound as a big flywheel. Because what happens is, while on the short form content he can get quick attention, the YouTube has that evergreen nature. Content on YouTube lasts, and it gets shown to lots of people over months and months and months, further out from when the video is posted, even years. So what that does is it allows him to have a very strong half-life on big events, and when someone finds out about him, they can go through and watch all of the previous ones. They can see just a plethora of like S tier, crazy viral, no way this is free level entertainment content just immediately, because he's already done these lightning event strikes in the past. And instead of just having it be a one-off viral moment of TikTok, he's converted it into a permanent real estate attention asset online. Now, the next section is going to be his other vlogs. So these vlogs are okay. They're not like anything crazy, just to be honest with you. He holds his phone and he just talks throughout his day. So it's simple, it's effective, but what it does is it builds that trust and relatability and acts mainly as an archive. TJR doesn't do these vlogs really anymore, but it's a great archive if someone wants to go back into the history of his channel and understand how he even got here in the first place. Then we have the trade recaps. So the trade recaps are the most important part of TJR's ecosystem, and I'll explain to you why. So before, I was speaking about doing things that nobody else is willing to do, and this is the epitome of it for his brand, because for the last 3 years, TJR has pretty much showed every single trading day, and he has gone through every single trading day and just done a recap. Pretty simple, but he's shown his ups and downs with radical transparency of when he loses money and when he wins money. And because of that, what it does is it builds a, first off, daily connection where people are trading the market and they're checking what TJR did that day. And it also shows a live demonstration of his strategy. So somebody is going from seeing the top of funnel and going like, okay, this guy's crazy and he has a lot of money, to then going, oh, this is how he makes that money. They're going to see he's making whatever in a day, or even losing however much in a day. They're just seeing these crazy figures on the YouTube thumbnails and the YouTube titles, which are extremely simple, but then when they click on the video and it's just a simple OBS screen share of his trading view and him placing the actual trades on his phone, he is just going absolutely crazy when it comes to the amount of transparency that he has. So then somebody goes, oh, I kind of like this guy, I relate to this guy, and he's kind of like me and my friends how we talk. But then you see him make 50K in a day, or 100K in a day, or 150K in a day, and you go, what? How's he doing that? And then he shows you the trading, he shows you his live strategy that he just demonstrated, and he says, hey, click onto the link in the description, and then you enter his bottom of funnel. And it's super, super simple, but no other trading influencer in the world has been able to successfully do it for as long of a period as he has and consistently show that they're making money. Now, some people have caught on and tried to replicate, but he's been doing it for so long that people just can't catch up to him at this point with his brand. And something that's noteworthy is he even tried actually trading live on Kick. However, he discontinued it, and there's a few reasons why. The ones he stated is that mainly it just gets in his head. He doesn't like trading and having to perform at the same time, which is totally fair. But then also, in addition to that, it also takes away from his mentorship and his students, because he shares his what's called Confluence, which is just his trading plan for the day, live for them so that they can actually go through and look when they pay him all of the money. So that is the trade recap section. And then the final section that we're going to cover and scooch all the way over to here, is going to be his boot camps. Now, what are the boot camps? The boot camps are a daily series that he does throughout a certain period of time, and he's done, I believe he's on his third boot camp right now. He did a initial trading boot camp that made him a lot of money. Then he made a crypto boot camp that he discontinued because he realized that he wasn't going to launch a course on crypto, and then he's on his trading bootcamp 2. And that's just because this other one here is almost 2 years old and outdated, but pretty much what it consists of is copying the exact same format as his recaps over here, but instead of explaining what he's actually trading for on the day, he's explaining his strategy, his mindset, how he thinks. Some videos are straight talking head, but there's relatively no editing. The thumbnails are simple, really simple. They're almost shockingly simple and low quality, but he repeats them every single time the exact same with only very minor changes. And what that does is it creates relatability on the click. Something I'm going to keep restating about TJR's brand is that he does things that are pretty non-extraordinary. He's even completely put a guy on blast for trying to break down the nitty-gritty of his email when in reality, he just wrote them one time. There's no crazy psychology behind it. And the reason why that's so important to understand is in a world of just little tactics and trying all these psychology hacks, all TJR has done is just focus on things that nobody else is willing to do. Focus on the trust, focus on the radical transparency and demonstrating that. And as a result of all of it, it doesn't really matter certain small things, like for example, the thumbnail in the video, because you already like him so much and he's already blasting so much content out that it's just TJR and you like him already. You don't need to think to click. You don't need to be convinced on some crazy thumbnail to click the video, because at this point, you already know who he is. You already have seen entertainment stuff from him. So when you see trading and you see something that you believe can help you, you're gonna click. And as a result of people going through his daily boot camp, it is the main place where when somebody finds out about him, they see him making a crap ton of money. Now they're being educated by how he actually makes that money. They're gonna move into the bottom of the funnel. So pretty much the situation that we're in as we enter the bottom of the funnel is we have a crap ton of trusted attention. We've got we've got burning hot traffic and attention. And now all we have to do is find effective ways in order to turn that into money. And while this might seem like a simple task, it is a pretty difficult one to do at a large scale with as just much traffic as he's getting without destroying your reputation. So it requires calculated and careful moves. So I'm gonna take that trust and attention that we're getting, and we're gonna break down the income streams that TJR actually has. Now, the most obvious one that he has is going to be the mentorship and the info product that he's selling, and the less obvious ones are going to be his affiliates and partnerships. So we're killing markers here, guys, but we've got his affiliates and partnerships. So mentorship, pretty simple stuff. We're gonna cover that right now. We've got no CTAs that are actually verbally said, which is very important. In all the middle of funnel trading content and even on the streams, he will very rarely say, hey, click on this link. The only time that he CTAs directly to the mentorship is going to be from his Instagram, directing a link to his mentorship after showing a whole bunch of results here from students and people inside of the program. Now, we're not making any CTAs on this content, so what is actually gonna happen is somebody's going to go to a free training. In the past, what he did is he had a low ticket offer for $27 and a free training, but more recently, he's just made it straight to the free training. And on the free training, you're gonna land on an event style opt-in page. And on that opt-in page, you're going to put in your SMS, you're going to put in your email, and then also your name. And pretty simple stuff, standard for the industry here. You're going to be run, now in my experience in testing his actual funnel, his sales team were by no means extraordinary. I'm not sure if I spoke with a new guy, but it was nothing special, just a typical script. And in addition to that, the emails that I got, again, were nothing crazy, nothing that without a basic understanding of copywriting, you could not replicate yourself. What is important here is that he's collecting information, which is then going to lead to, again, the volume factor, which admittedly he does a great job of. You get a lot of emails from him, and you also get a lot of text messages, and his team does call. They do follow up. Now, it might not be the fastest in the world, they might not be the best on the phone ever, but it doesn't matter because he has such crazy trusted attention. It doesn't need to be like somebody running paid ads and getting a bunch of cold attention where their sales team has to be literal savages and murderers on the phone just to get someone to say, hey, I want to book a call. The people that are coming in already want to book a call. They just more so need somebody who's pretty much an ATM and cash register for just banking in all the attention. So from that point on, they're going to convert to a call funnel and then purchase the mentorship. The mentorship price has gone up. It's pretty expensive. Based on my research, the price was around $4,500 and it moved to $6,000. So it could be even higher now, but it's a high ticket product and it's sold at a package deal for, I believe, a 12-month period. And what that does is it allows people to come in. He focuses his mentorship on actually being a mastermind. So instead of it being like a trading group, and there is a course and everything involved in it, but it's a more mastermind focused thing where you're looking at the daily market recap and you're, again, learning from him as he day trades, because the business model he's teaching, yes, there is educational factors in it, but the big value is understanding what he's actually doing on a live and daily basis. So a huge value add is him live explaining his confluence. Now he doesn't do what's called buy or sell indicators, saying when he's actually saying buy this and you're gonna make money, because that is pretty crappy and unethical. But what he does do is he gives his confluence and plan for the day. And he also has introduced a second product in his mentorship, which are indicators. So indicators are something that he was previously against, but he has rolled out a non-buy or sell indicator, which is previously what I said, and instead having what's called a confluence indicator. So pretty much just a systemized version of his strategy on the charts that people can actually just immediately apply and install. And he sells these for $45 for the basic, $50 a month for the advanced, and then $75 a month at the bundle here. And this is nothing crazy, but it allows him to have a pretty good downsell on the phone in case anybody's just like completely broke and not qualified at all. So that is his trading, and like I said, it really banks on just him having warm, hot, trusted attention, and also him just doing the thing that he says to do live every day and doing a heck of a job at it. Then we move on to the affiliates and the partnerships, and this is probably his most underrated source of income that I hear nobody else talk about. So the first section, he's going to have funded accounts. So for this, he has Alpha Futures. So I'll just put AF here. And then the other one that he has is called Tradeify. And these are companies that he has partnered with and likely receives an affiliate. There is no public information on these deals. They're quiet and behind closed doors. However, he's likely making a percentage of people that sign up on a recurring basis, in addition to also just a set retainer for working together. Then when it comes to his actual wallet tracker that he's using for his trading, he is partnered with Zella as a trading journal. Sorry, just took a look at my notes there to make sure I know. And then in addition to that, he also has his brokerage, which he is using Hero FX. Now, these are a sleeper of an income source. And I just want to tell you a quick story, because I met a dropshipping influencer that in the post-prime of dropshipping, so between 2023 and 2024, where the info market was slightly slowing down, this guy was making over $500,000 a month, in addition to having an actual mentorship over here that he was bringing in roughly $80,000 a month from. So that's just to give size. and it was purely through an affiliate and partnership that he had with Shopify. Pretty crazy. And this creator was somebody who gets a lot less attention to TJR, now albeit still a massive creator with hundreds of thousands of followers, but nowhere near the fame level of TJR. So imagine all of these affiliate partnerships happening at the same time, and then also compounding on a recurring basis, because the customers that he gets and the ones that actually stay on and see success are going to end up staying for months and months and months, and likely make it a part of their just recurring expenses, and then as a result, TJR gets paid a lot of money. So that is the affiliate and the actual way of him monetizing all of the income streams that he directly has. Now, there are other stuff like Kiltech, which is his fashion brand, and he also has his investment returns from his portfolio that he runs himself, but those are not related as much to his personal brand, and the clothing business is one that is simply not relevant for the majority of people watching this video. Now, if you'd like me personally to go ahead and build your brand up, producing and posting all of the videos for you, at my company, 7-Figure Creator, I spend my life doing exactly that. I have a max client capacity of 5. I have 3 people currently on board, so I'm taking 2 more people on in the next coming month. And yeah, you can schedule a call down below, apply. I'd like to see your brand, do what I can in order to help. But regardless, I hope that the time you spent on this video is worth the value you got in return, and I will see you in the next one.